March 20th, 1939. DENVERCO. Beloved ones of the light. This is a joy indeed, and how I wish each one of you might see how you have been lifted during the evening. May I ask that each one endeavor to sustain that. Call your presence to qualify it to be eternally sustained. The great harmony into which you have been raised is invaluable to you, and really you can sustain it. Once in the East, I invited the beloved ones to come into my garden. Tonight, not only shall I invite you, but you shall come into my garden tonight. You know there are 3 of you in one. In your etheric body tonight, you shall come into my garden. That means far more than words can explain, but will you be kind enough to accept it, that all the service intended may be rendered? We have enjoyed greatly the evening, as I know you have, and it is quite fitting that after so beautiful an evening, that we enter into the refreshing atmosphere of a garden of beauty and perfection. That sounds quite simple, does it not, that you could walk out of your home into a beautiful garden? This is far more 200 than that tonight, for you are entering into my garden of victory, victory's victory. I cannot release tonight all that I would like to in this dynamic power, because I do not wish to change this magnificent vibratory action which has been established in the room, so I will talk gently to you, and let you feel the increasing power of its action. In all the world, mankind has sought victory of one kind or another. Now you are coming to know the one victory which covers all your activities, and that is the victory of light. Do you see and feel quite anchored in the great qualities which are being brought forth, through which we have gained these mighty victories? Now that is being established in your feeling world, so you may more quickly have this achievement, all that every heart craves and knows it can have. Do you remember the times that you have wished to achieve something and then would be disappointed, and how that aching longing was within your breast? Soon there will be none of those conditions. Soon whatever your attention is fixed upon will be successful, and there will be no disappointments. And will you follow the next few words closely? In mankind's reaching out for happiness, for achievement, for health, for strength, think of it, how often the overexertion of that activity through human effort has led one into great mistakes. That was not the fault of life, but the misinterpretation upon the energy released. So tonight, allow me to assist you and urge you with great earnestness, to call your mighty power of discrimination into action, your selective intelligence. Now notice. Were you to call the full power of your selective intelligence into action, you could not possibly take any food into your stomach which would disagree with you. You see, within the lack of harmony, the atomic structure of the body and feeling world, a great many things which would be delightful cause disturbance, not because of the substance, but because of the discord and inharmony within those nerves which should assimilate the food. You know when you get overagitated, how often you become sick at the stomach. That is because here at your solar plexus and back of your stomach are those nerves first affected by discord. Therefore, when you find that you are the master of your feelings and hold complete control by harmony, soon not one single thing would be inharmonious to you. Today, there is excess of every description, the excess of eating, the excess of the kinds of food, the excess of the combinations, and all that is the lack of discriminating intelligence in action, which mankind and everyone have been allowing to act. Now this means so much to you in your health, in your receptivity to the great harmonies of life. Tonight, when I look upon the condition which I had to come into some 4 years ago, to witness the change is transcendent beyond words. Therefore, all of you must have our assistance to fulfill God's divine plan. In other words, each of your individual life streams has its own mighty power of action, its own mighty service, which it wishes to render. Now will you consider for a moment the vast number of individuals who are embodied at this time? Would you believe that each life stream is different? There are not 2 alike or who desire exactly the same thing. You know it has been said that even the hairs of your head are numbered. It is a wise intelligence that provides abundantly for everything. I say to you, my beloved ones, as you enter more fully into this great understanding of life, you see how life has provided every conceivable thing in its perfection, in its abundance. Only after long centuries of mass mistaken qualification do you find the conditions of today. Remember, for more than 2 million years mankind lived in a state of magnificent perfection. I know there are great great numbers of mankind today, who will not allow themselves to comprehend that because they feel they are belittling themselves to think or admit that once they were very wise, perfectly harmonious, and wielded powers almost defying description, yet having receded from that I am presence of life and having forgotten, they cannot believe they once wielded those powers which the ascended masters do today, in a perfectly natural state. Think of it, beloved ones, that is to come again. Oh, that magnificent condition where forms are built by the two individuals, the masculine and feminine directing their mighty light rays, and where they meet, the form is built. Now that was done through many, many hundreds of centuries. The present means of birth was unknown, but after mankind began to use their own free will destructively and withdrew, thinking that in the outer was the power, or at least trying to make it the power, before they realized it, they had lost that great power. Then means had to be provided for mankind to once again return home. That is the condition which mankind passed through, and as the density grew greater, that process became very painful, very distressing because mankind had grown into such intensity, or rather such tension of the nerve and muscular system, that with many there was no relaxation. You know today, how few people can relax the muscular system and the nervous system at will. Tonight, a great and mighty relaxation occurred. Some of you who have not really been relaxing for years, have relaxed tonight, for we saw to it that you did. One blessed one who came into the class and had not slept for 2 years, after being in the class, went home and slept for hours like an infant. That is the power of harmony. That is what life wants you to be, wants you to have. As you comply with this great law, this mighty, I am, instruction which Saint Germain has given you and which the messengers have carried forth, what a privilege you will feel it is, to use this transcendent knowledge. Oh, my dear ones, there is no such thing in the world today which produces such harmony, and while the great I am, student body have not yet quite determined that they can enter into one of these classes and remain in its glorious, magnificent height and harmonious attainment which they have reached, yet soon they will. Soon all will know that every step is anchored there, and then they will rest, until the next step is taken and they remain there. Then, they will have entered into the great eternal victory, and as each step is gained, the first thing you know, the purified perfection of these forms will just step out into the perfection of the higher mental body, and then there is only one more step to freedom. It is a magnificent thing. It is the greatest truth in all life, for it is the end of mankind's pilgrimage on earth. That is why, beloved ones, you should make every effort in the world with great determination in your application, in the firmness required, to cut yourselves free from human qualities, limitations, and conditions. Then will you quickly enter into your freedom. Remember, we cannot quite be assured yet, just how firm and determined the great, I am, student body in America will be. We are expecting by July, enough of the great body of students will become so firm, not only in the acceptance, but the activity of the presence, through themselves, that we can formulate definite plans for very much greater power and speed of action to be released. Let me prompt you and encourage you tonight. Do not ever let your human self qualify the radiance in the classes of the messengers as too much for you. You know, in a number of the classes, there are always one or two who faint and have considerable experience, but that is human qualification. In the glory of the classroom, it would be impossible for you to faint or feel anything but the great glorious power and uplift which is there. So, beloved ones, watch that you do not let your human self qualify itself with too great power. Wisdom is acting in the classroom, and there could not be too much power released upon any one of you, because wisdom is governing. But in your human qualification, the outer has said, something is happening here. I don't quite understand it, therefore, I think I will faint. Do you know, beloved ones, you do not have to faint. It is only when you determine to faint, that you do it. Don't think me unkind. But I want you to be so firmly master of yourselves, that anything which seems an intensified vibratory action or increased rejoicing, is really the greater perfection of the presence. If you knew the sensations which have passed through this human form in 5 years, and not once has this messenger ever qualified it with anything but the perfection of the presence. Sometimes currents of energy flow through this body almost sufficient to sweep it out over the audience, and only yesterday, when the mighty Archangel Michael gave the dictation, even before the messenger knew he was here, the forces from the Archangel Michael's being almost swept him forward. But he has learned to qualify everything with the perfection of the presence, then the wisdom of the presence governs and directs. You beloved ones, please do the same thing. Now remember, in the classes heretofore, it has been largely preparatory activity. This time we have entered into definite action for you, and please accept that and know now, you are steadily moving forward in the power of the light of your I Am Presence, which is dauntless, and if you feel just a little timid at times, in feeling the release of that great power, say, Mighty I Am Presence, this is not my business, this is yours. Take command of this body and do what you like with it. Give everything into the hands of your I Am Presence, your body, your energy, everything. Then see how beautiful life will be, and see the strength and dominion of your body which will be anchored there. Oh, to think in all the centuries, mankind had forgotten the I Am Presence, and to think how they have forgotten even to thank life for a single thing. How joyful it is to return where we can see and understand what gratitude poured back to life means, since all we are, is this light. I marvel, beloved students, I really marvel that mankind does not take deeper notice of all the forces which are playing through their bodies and acting there. Today, in your reawakening into that great perfection of life, let not a day pass that you do not return sincere gratitude to life. These bodies are just the garment you are wearing, and you have often cast them aside and built new ones. Now you are approaching the time when the presence of life which has provided the eternal body of light for you, says, Return, my children, and enter into the kingdom eternal. Enter into the body of the eternal light, and wander no more in the maze of human creation and limitation. You are returning, beloved ones, into that eternal freedom once again, this time never to recede, never to forget, and what a goal! Not remembering that you have lived so many times, and the conditions in which you lived each time, you do not fully comprehend all that they mean. We, seeing your life stream of action, seeing the embodiments in which you lived and the conditions under which you lived each time, it is a tremendous thing, and we are very glad that in the human form you are rarely cognizant of what has been. Fortunate indeed and wise is life which has provided that. Only when you have raised your consciousness, where no vision of unhappiness can touch and mar the beauty of the incoming perfection, would you be permitted to see your former embodiments. Even with your beloved Bob, Rex, Nada, and Pearl, when Saint Germain showed them a part of their life streams, he avoided, absolutely, showing anything in those experiences which was unpleasant. Because he wanted them to have the feeling and the full power of the constructive activity which had been theirs. Therefore, he allowed them only to see the constructive action. That is how mankind can gain such power. You do not realize, my beloved ones, what your physical eyesight can do for you. It has undone a lot for you, but you do not see that. You do not realize that, yet some of you are beginning to. When you realize that your vision will bring either limitation and imperfection to you, or it will bring the perfection of life, you will definitely master it. Since you had not known where to focus your vision to bring in perfection, then you have been fluctuating between the desire for better things and the vision which you held out here of human conditions, which were mostly limitation. Now today, you are in the position to free yourselves from all this. Say to your vision, behold only the perfection of life. You are in a position to command your feeling to accept nothing but the perfection of the mighty I Am Presence into action. You are in a position to say to your power of attention, stay here where perfection of life is, until you have drawn it in its fullness into these forms and set them free. Then you are acting in the magnificent commanding harmony and splendor of life, and you will have it manifest here. I rejoice, thank, and bless our beloved artists tonight with all my heart for the service they have rendered you, for the service they have rendered themselves. This blessed Godfrey, what shall we do with him? I think he has accepted Frank's suggestion, just take it easy. Dear ones, you have never known such friends in the world as Lotus and Godfrey, and as your light expands, you will understand my words. Now, beloved ones, while you are standing, and before I discontinue pouring this radiance, accept the fullness of its mighty power and action within your feeling world. Then call your I am presence, through the power of qualification, to see that it goes out whenever required, going before you. Now notice, this is energy which you cannot requalify, but you can command it. Therefore, command that energy to go before you in everything you wish to do. Of course you understand that you must not try to use it except in constructive activities, and of course I take it for granted you all understand that, but you can do wonders, if you will only do this. In the qualities which we are, and which you need so much in the human octave, the speed and power of achievement is beyond description. Now, you can achieve in 1 year, what otherwise might take you 40. Isn't it worthwhile? Just think of it. We could have said to mankind, well, you got yourselves in this condition, now you climb out the best you can. What do you think occurred in the early days, when mankind were taking certain initiations, etc., to gain the victory and mastery of the human self? The law of life did not permit someone to come along, as we are doing to you, and say, here, ladies and gentlemen, we stand ready to give you the assistance which will hasten your victory from 1 to 40 or 50 years. Oh no! They had to find from within themselves the power of victory. That is why so few won the victory of life. We have the records, of course, of all who in each century won the victory of life, the victory over self, and it is amazing how small was the number. Now today, the victory in numbers will be so stupendous in comparison even with the past century. Do you see all that this means? It is the step up of every condition of the energy of the earth and the atmosphere, of mankind and all conditions, and through that step up and intensification, there will come the purification, release, and dissolving of all humanly discordant substance in the earth. Now for instance, just take one of you in this audience who was wholly firm and determined. Suppose you stood in the middle of the audience, and you are wholly firm and determined in the understanding and acceptance of your I am presence. Then you call that forth to spread its radiance throughout the room. Everyone in the room would be lifted according to the intensity of that radiance. Therefore, you see your own responsibility to your fellow man. See what you can do by holding yourselves harmonious, and calling this into action to pour that radiance out. You who live in Denver, as you go along the street, pour that out to those you pass on the street, and to those in the stores. My dear ones, once you see what you can do in that one thing alone, it will be a purification and blessing of the presence, in time to come, which will be transcendent beyond words. This is why tonight I am trying to give you a little clearer concept of all you can do. Not that it is necessarily a responsibility, for you are quite free to choose whether you care to call forth this mighty intensification of energy to bless your fellow men as you move about them. I could not say, you must do thus and so. I would be stepping beyond my province, because you have free will, but I think when you understand the privilege which is yours, you are only too happy and glad to render this service and, through it, aid in the expansion of your own light with so great a power. I thank you, I love you, and I bless you, beloved children of the light. May the fullness of the great ones endeavoring to assist you by releasing into your feeling world their qualities, help you to gain in 1 or 2 years what might mean a lifetime of tremendous effort otherwise. Take advantage of it, my dear ones. Ladies and gentlemen, take advantage of this magnificent opportunity which is offered you, but don't think of it idly. Don't think of it as unimportant. Oh, my dear ones, if you knew how you stand in this room tonight. You could go forward in such a short time into the victory, until suddenly you would behold your I am presence, in its magnificent splendor. Its radiance through the higher mental body would enfold you. Then your struggles would be over. Mankind is nearing this state. Therefore, take advantage of it and have the great eternal blessing, happiness, and limitless supply which life is holding for you, to release at any moment into your world when it finds sufficient harmony there. I thank you and bless you forever.